My parents forced me to hand over the house I spent years saving for give it to my brother, but when I revealed the truth in court, it shocked everyone. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Looking back, I should have seen the signs when my parents started bringing contractors to measure my house while I was at work. But I trusted family. That trust nearly cost me everything I'd built, over 10 years of 80-hour weeks as a network security engineer. The foster family dysfunction ran deeper than I realized. My parents, Linda and Robert, had spent 30 years perfecting the art of emotional manipulation. Golden child Tyler, 28, had never held a job longer than 6 months, but somehow always had money for designer clothes and expensive vacations. Meanwhile, I'd been financing his lifestyle since college, believing his promises to pay me back someday. When I bought my house at 25 using every penny of savings plus overtime money, my parents called it selfish. Tyler needed a place to live after his latest girlfriend kicked him out. Mom cried about how successful Declan should help struggling Tyler. Dad gave speeches about family loyalty and sharing good fortune. I offered Tyler the guest room temporarily. 6 months later, he was redecorating my living room and telling neighbors he was co-owner. When I objected, my parents arranged a family meeting. Tyler's been through so much, Mom sobbed. His dreams of starting a business require stability. You have a good job, you could get another house easily. Dad leaned forward with his practiced disappointed expression. Declan, we raised you to take care of family. Tyler needs this more than you do. Tyler sat quietly, playing the victim role perfectly. Dark circles under his eyes, worn clothing, defeated posture, Academy Award performance from someone who'd spent the previous weekend at a luxury spa. I worked every holiday for 3 years to afford this house. I said, Tyler can get his own place when he finds steady work. So you're choosing money over family? Mama's voice cracked. After everything we've done for you, the guilt hit like a physical weight. These were my parents. They'd raised me, supported my education, celebrated my successes. Tyler was my little brother who struggled with depression and bad luck. Maybe I was being selfish, but something felt wrong. Tyler's struggles always seemed to coincide perfectly with my financial milestones. When I got promoted, he needed emergency dental work. When I bought my car, he required bail money. The timing was too convenient. I told them I needed time to think. That night, Tyler moved more belongings into my house, claiming the master bedroom had better lighting for his artwork. When I confronted him, he shrugged. Mom and Dad said you were coming around. I'm getting a head start on moving in properly. The next morning, I called my parents' lawyer, David Chen, who'd handled family legal matters for years. Surely someone neutral could help mediate this situation reasonably. Declan, this sounds like a family matter that should be resolved privately, he said after I explained the situation. Your parents mentioned Tyler's having a difficult time. Perhaps there's a compromise where everyone benefits, but it's my house. I have the deed, the mortgage, everything in my name. Legally, yes, but families often share resources differently than strangers. Have you considered Tyler might genuinely need this help? Your parents seem very concerned about his welfare. David's tone suggested I was overreacting to normal family dynamics. He recommended family counseling and open communication about everyone's needs. That evening, my parents arrived unannounced with Chinese takeout and big smiles. We've been thinking, Dad said, spreading containers across my dining table. What if we made this official? Transfer the house deed to Tyler, and we'll help you with a down payment on another place. Everyone wins. Mom nodded eagerly. Tyler could take over your mortgage payments, you'd get equity cash for a fresh start, and the family stays together. Tyler emerged from the kitchen with plates. Looking hopeful but nervous, I'd really try to make the payments, Declan. This could be my chance to finally get stable. The pressure was suffocating. 3 people I loved, asking for something that felt like giving away my identity. This house represented every sacrifice I'd made, skipped vacations, worn clothes until they fell apart, eaten ramen for months to save money. But David Chen thought I was being unreasonable. My parents thought I was being selfish. Maybe successful people did have obligations to struggling family members. I need to think about it. I repeated. Mama's face fell. Still, Declan, we're trying to help everyone here. Why are you making this so difficult? Over the following weeks, I started documenting Tyler's activities. If he was genuinely struggling, his behavior should reflect that reality. If he was manipulating the situation, evidence would eventually surface. Tyler claimed to be broke, but I photographed expensive packages arriving daily, Amazon deliveries, clothing shipments, restaurant takeout orders. His artwork turned out to be selling cryptocurrency trading courses online, not exactly starving artist territory. I gathered bank statements showing my financial support over the years, $47,000 in emergency loans that Tyler never repaid, phone records revealing he'd been lying about job interviews, instead calling friends to arrange tennis matches and social events. Most damning, Tyler's social media posts about playing the family sympathy card and getting free housing from my sucker brother. Screenshots captured him joking with friends about manipulating our parents' emotions. I presented this evidence to my parents during Sunday dinner, expecting them to finally see Tyler's deception. Dad barely glanced at the bank statements. So you've been keeping track of helping your brother? That's pretty cold, Declan. Mom flipped through screenshots without reading them. Tyler's social media posts are just him trying to sound confident when he's really struggling inside. You're taking jokes out of context. Tyler looked hurt. I can't believe you've been spying on me, Declan. Following my social media, tracking my spending, that feels like stalking. These posts show you bragging about lying to family, I said. I was venting to friends about feeling pressured to accept charity. Tyler replied smoothly. Sometimes people post things they don't mean when they're stressed. My parents nodded sympathetically at Tyler's explanation, while treating my evidence like an invasion of privacy. The carefully documented proof of manipulation became proof of my suspicious nature instead. Maybe you should focus on being more supportive, instead of investigating your brother like he's a criminal, Mom suggested. Desperate for outside perspective, I reached out to our extended family. Surely other relatives would see the situation objectively and help mediate fairly. Uncle Frank, Dad's brother, listened patiently to my concerns during a phone call that lasted over an hour. I explained Tyler's pattern of manipulation, the financial history, the social media evidence. I hear what you're saying, Declan, Frank said finally. But Tyler's always been sensitive. Remember when he was little? He needed extra attention, extra support. Some people just require more help throughout life. This isn't about emotional support. He's lying to get my house. Your parents know Tyler better than anyone. If they think he needs this help, maybe they see something you're missing. You've always been independent, successful. It might be hard to understand what struggling feels like. Aunt Margaret, Mom's sister, was even less supportive. Declan, I'm disappointed in you. Family takes care of family. You have a good career. No kids, no major responsibilities. Tyler's trying to build a life. Why can't you help him succeed? Because he's not trying to build anything, he's trying to take what I built. That's a very selfish way to look at it. Your parents raised both of you. They're asking you to share blessings with your brother. Most people would be honored to help family this way. The conversation devolved into Margaret lecturing me about family values and social responsibility. According to her, successful family members had obligations to support struggling relatives. My resistance proved I'd lost touch with what really matters. Cousin Jenny, who I'd considered an ally, took Tyler's side completely. Tyler showed me those mean texts you sent him about tracking his spending. He's really hurt, Declan. He looks up to you, and you're treating him like a criminal. What mean texts? The ones where you accused him of lying and threatened to cut him off financially if he didn't move out immediately. I never sent threatening texts. Tyler was fabricating evidence to make me look like a bully. But Jenny believed his version without question, as did everyone else he contacted. Maybe you should apologize, Jenny suggested. Tyler's just trying to get his life together, and you're making it harder by being suspicious and controlling. The family narrative was solidifying successful Declan bullying struggling Tyler. With concerned parents trying to mediate fairly, my evidence of Tyler's manipulation became proof of my paranoid nature instead. With family mediation failing, I contacted a real estate lawyer for professional advice about protecting my property rights. Surely legal professionals would focus on facts rather than family dynamics. Attorney Sandra Mills reviewed my documentation and deed information before delivering her assessment. Mr. Foster, you clearly own this property legally. However, family disputes require careful handling to avoid escalation. Tyler's moved into my house without permission, and my parents want me to deed it to him. What are my legal options? You could file for trespassing or unlawful entry, but that would likely destroy family relationships permanently. Courts prefer families resolve housing disputes privately when possible. Sandra explained that forcing Tyler out legally would require formal eviction proceedings, which could take months and cost thousands in legal fees. Meanwhile, my parents could claim they'd given Tyler permission to stay, making the legal situation more complex. Your brother hasn't damaged the property or threatened you physically, she continued. Judges often view family housing disputes as civil matters, requiring compromise rather than legal intervention. The legal system, designed to protect property rights, seemed reluctant to protect those rights when family members were involved. Sandra's advice focused on negotiation and compromise rather than enforcement of my ownership. Consider offering Tyler a reasonable timeline to find alternative housing, she suggested. Document your attempts at fair resolution. If the situation escalates to actual property damage or threats, legal options become clearer. Even worse, Sandra mentioned that Tyler could potentially claim tenant rights if he'd been living in my house long enough with my initial permission. The guest room arrangement I'd offered out of kindness might legally complicate my ability to remove him. Family law favors solutions that preserve relationships when possible, Sandra concluded. Unless there's criminal behavior, courts encourage private mediation over legal enforcement. My ownership rights were legally clear, but practically unenforceable without destroying family relationships and spending months in court battles. The system assumed families would negotiate fairly, not that one party would manipulate emotions while the other party tried to maintain legal boundaries. Kevin Ramirez, my best friend since college, had watched this family drama unfold with growing concern. As a fellow network security engineer, Kevin understood investigation techniques and had no patience for manipulation. Something's seriously wrong here, Kevin said after I explained Sandra Mills' advice. Your family's treating you like you're the problem for not wanting to give away your house. That's not normal. We started with basic surveillance. Kevin helped me install discrete security cameras around my property to document Tyler's activities. The footage revealed interesting patterns. Tyler left every morning in expensive clothes, carrying a briefcase, looking like a businessman heading to important meetings. He returned around dinner time with shopping bags and restaurant takeout, appearing stressed and defeated for my parents' benefit. I followed him one Tuesday, maintaining careful distance. Tyler's job interviews were actually visits to high-end shopping centers, spa appointments, and long lunches with friends at expensive restaurants. No interviews, no job applications, no legitimate attempts at employment. The paper trail was equally revealing. Tyler's credit cards were maxed out, but he was making minimum payments using cashier's checks. Someone was funding his lifestyle, someone with consistent income and good credit. Late-night investigation in my home office revealed the truth. Tyler had been using my computer while I worked, accessing my banking information through saved passwords. He'd memorized my account numbers and security questions. Kevin's IT skills proved invaluable for digital forensics. My own router log showed Tyler's devices accessing my banking websites regularly, transferring small amounts to cover his credit card payments. The transfers were subtle, $50 here, $75 there, designed to avoid detection. He's been stealing from you for months, Kevin said. Reviewing the evidence, these micro-transfers add up to over $3,000 in the past 6 months alone. We documented everything: screenshots of unauthorized transfers, router logs showing his device access, photographs of Tyler's expensive purchases funded by stolen money. The evidence was overwhelming. Tyler wasn't struggling financially because he was stealing from me to maintain his lifestyle. But presenting this evidence to my parents would require admitting I'd been investigating Tyler systematically. They'd already criticized me for documenting his social media posts. Full surveillance evidence would make me look obsessive and paranoid. The banking theft was just the beginning. Kevin suggested expanding the investigation to understand the full scope of Tyler's deception and my parents' involvement. Your parents are pushing really hard for this house transfer, Kevin observed. What if they're getting something out of it too? We researched property records, loan applications, and business registrations. Tyler had been busy beyond simple theft. He was building toward something much larger. Tyler had registered a business called Foster Property Development, using my house as the business address. The registration listed him as sole owner of the property. Despite never having legal title, he was using this false business registration to apply for development loans. The loan applications were audacious. Tyler claimed to own my house free and clear, valued at $350,000. He was seeking a $200,000 business loan using my property as collateral for a development project he never discussed with me. Kevin's investigation revealed Tyler had been meeting with contractors, not for job interviews, but to get estimates for major renovations to my house. He planned to convert it into rental units, using the business loan to fund construction while I continued paying the mortgage. He's trying to steal your house and get a business loan, using it as collateral, Kevin explained. If this works, he gets $200,000 in cash plus ownership of your property. You'd be left with the mortgage payments on a house you no longer own. The scheme was sophisticated and required inside knowledge of my financial situation. Tyler knew my income, credit score, and banking habits. He'd been planning this theft for months, possibly years. More disturbing, Tyler couldn't have orchestrated this alone. The business registration, loan applications, and contractor meetings required adult supervision and co-signing. Someone with established credit and legal knowledge was helping him. Your parents aren't just supporting Tyler emotionally, Kevin realized. They're actively involved in defrauding you. Kevin and I arranged surveillance of my parents' house, looking for evidence of their involvement in Tyler's scheme. The truth was worse than we'd imagined. Tyler met with my parents every Tuesday evening for what they called family dinner, but security footage from across the street revealed a different kind of meeting. They spread documents across the dining table, made phone calls on speaker, and coordinated activities like a business planning session. I installed audio recording equipment in my car and parked near their house during one of these meetings. The conversation I captured changed everything. The loan approval should come through next week. Dad's voice was clear through the recording equipment. Tyler, you need to push Declan harder about the deed transfer. Once we have legal ownership, the business loan funds immediately. Mom's voice chimed in. I still think we should forge his signature. Declan's being unreasonable about this whole thing. No, we need him to sign voluntarily, Tyler replied. If he signs willingly, he can't claim fraud later. The emotional pressure campaign is working. He's feeling guilty about not helping family. Dad continued. Once Tyler owns the house and has the business loan, we can start the renovation project. $200,000 should cover converting it to rental units. Monthly income from 4 tenants will be around $6,000. What about Declan's mortgage payments? Mom asked. Tyler laughed. Not our problem. He can keep paying the mortgage while we collect rent money. By the time he figures out what happened, we'll have made enough profit to buy him out of his mortgage debt if we feel generous. The recording captured 30 minutes of detailed planning. My parents weren't just supporting Tyler's manipulation, they were the architects of it. The house theft was their idea, Tyler was their front man, and I was their target. They discussed backup plans for forcing the deed transfer, including filing false elder abuse claims against me if I continued resisting. Mom had researched Adult Protective Services complaints, claiming I was financially abusing them by refusing to share property. If Declan won't cooperate, we make him look like he's exploiting elderly parents, Mom said. Adult Protective Services will investigate him while we complete the property transfer. The conspiracy was comprehensive and cruel. My parents were prepared to destroy my reputation, my career, and my financial security to profit from property theft. Tyler was just their willing accomplice, armed with recorded evidence of their conspiracy. I decided to confront my parents directly. This seemed like the smoking gun that would end their manipulation and expose Tyler's fraud to the entire family. I arranged a family meeting under the pretense of finally being ready to discuss the house situation seriously. My parents arrived excited, believing their emotional pressure campaign had succeeded. We're so glad you're being reasonable about this, Mom said. Settling into my living room with a folder of documents, Tyler's been working so hard to get his life together. Tyler emerged from the kitchen where he'd been waiting, carrying a deed transfer document that was already partially filled out. I've been thinking about what you said about family obligations. I began carefully, but I discovered some things that concern me. Dad leaned forward. What kind of concerns? I know about foster property development. I know about the business loan applications. I know Tyler's been stealing from my bank accounts. The room went silent. Tyler's face went pale, but my parents didn't look surprised, they looked annoyed. We were hoping you wouldn't find out until after the paperwork was complete, Dad said calmly. This complicates things. Mom opened her folder and pulled out additional documents. Declan, we've been planning this for your own good. You're 28 years old, still single, no dependents. You don't need a big house. Tyler has a girlfriend, wants to start a family. This makes more sense. You're stealing my house. We're redistributing family assets more logically. Dad corrected. Your success comes from advantages we provided: education, support, family connections. It's reasonable for you to share that success with Tyler, who didn't have the same opportunities. Tyler finally spoke. I never wanted to deceive you, Declan. If Mom and Dad explained how much more I need stability than you do, you can get another house easily. This might be my only chance. They had an answer for everything. My evidence of theft became family financial sharing. Tyler's manipulation became legitimate need for support. Their conspiracy became practical family planning. Worse, they'd prepared for this confrontation. Mom pulled out photographs of me spying on Tyler, screenshots of my investigation activities, and documentation of my obsessive behavior. If you try to cause problems for this family, Dad said quietly, We have evidence that you've been stalking Tyler, invading his privacy, and harassing family members with accusations. Adult Protective Services takes elder abuse allegations very seriously. The trap was perfect. My investigation evidence would be used against me as proof of harassment. Their theft would be presented as protecting elderly parents from a vindictive son. Tyler would emerge as the victim of my surveillance and suspicion. Choose carefully, Declan, Mom added. Sign the deed transfer, and everyone stays happy. Try to fight this, and you'll discover how quickly family support disappears when people think you're dangerous. That night, Kevin found me sitting in my car outside a 24-hour diner, staring at the deed transfer documents my parents had left behind. They have this completely planned out. I told him, fight back and they'll destroy my reputation, go along with it, and they steal everything I've worked for. Kevin slid into the passenger seat. What if there's a third option? Like what? What if we let them think they won, but document everything for a bigger audience? Kevin's plan was elegant in its simplicity. Instead of fighting my family's manipulation privately, we'd document it professionally and present the evidence publicly. Let them complete their theft attempt while building an unassailable legal case. Your parents think they're smarter than you, Kevin explained. Let them prove it in front of witnesses who matter. We contacted Sandra Mills again, this time with a different strategy. Instead of seeking advice about preventing the theft, we wanted legal guidance for documenting fraud in progress. If your family completes this deed transfer using false information and coercion, that constitutes criminal fraud, Sandra explained, but we need bulletproof documentation of their deception and your lack of consent. Sandra introduced us to Detective Maria Santos, who specialized in family financial crimes. Detective Santos reviewed our evidence and proposed a controlled operation. We'll let your family proceed with their plan while documenting every illegal step, Detective Santos explained. When they attempt to finalize the property transfer using fraudulent business documents, we'll have criminal charges that stick. The operation required me to appear cooperative, while secretly recording all interactions. Kevin coordinated with Detective Santos to ensure evidence collection met legal standards for prosecution. I called my parents to schedule the deed signing meeting, expressing resignation about their plan. I've been thinking about what you said, I told Dad over the phone. Maybe Tyler does need this more than I do. Family should help family. Mom's excitement was audible in the background. We knew you'd come around, sweetheart. This will be so much better for everyone. The signing meeting was scheduled for the following Saturday at their house, with Tyler's girlfriend present as witness. What my family didn't know was that Detective Santos would be recording everything from outside, while I wore a wire to capture their admissions of fraud. Saturday arrived with my parents treating the deed signing like a celebration. Mom made Tyler's favorite dinner, Dad opened expensive wine, and Tyler's girlfriend brought a camera to document the family milestone. I arrived with the signed deed transfer, playing the role of reluctant but resigned brother. Kevin stayed away to maintain his cover, but Detective Santos was positioned nearby with surveillance equipment. We're so proud of you for doing the right thing, Mom said, hugging me at the door. This shows real maturity and family loyalty. Tyler was nervous but excited, reviewing the business loan documents that would fund his renovation project. I promise I'll make this work, Declan. You won't regret helping me. Before we make this official, I said, I want to understand the full plan. Tyler mentioned something about rental units. Dad smiled proudly. Tyler's going to convert your house into 4 rental apartments. The business loan covers renovation costs, and rental income will provide steady money for his future. What happens to my mortgage payments? You keep paying them until Tyler's rental income allows him to assume the mortgage, Mom explained. It might take a few years, but eventually, he'll take over all housing costs. Tyler nodded eagerly. The rental income should be around $6,000 per month. After expenses, I'll have enough to cover the mortgage and build savings. I pretended to calculate numbers while the recording equipment captured their admissions. So I'll pay the mortgage while Tyler collects rent money temporarily. Dad said, think of it as an investment in Tyler's future. You're successful enough to handle mortgage payments, and Tyler gets income to build stability. Tyler's girlfriend was recording this conversation on her phone, not realizing she was documenting criminal conspiracy. This is so sweet, she said. Declan's really helping Tyler achieve his dreams. Actually, I said carefully, I want to understand something else. How did Tyler qualify for a $200,000 business loan? Tyler and my parents exchanged glances. Dad answered slowly. Tyler used the house as collateral, listing himself as owner. The loan application showed he owned the property free and clear, but Tyler doesn't own the house. I do, Mom waved dismissively. That's just paperwork. Sweetheart, once you sign the deed transfer, Tyler will legally own it. The business loan was just approved early based on pending ownership transfer, so Tyler lied on the loan application. He provided information based on expected ownership, Dad corrected. Thanks. Understand family property transfers, it's very common. I had them on record admitting loan fraud, property theft, and conspiracy to defraud a financial institution. Tyler's girlfriend was still recording, excited about documenting what she thought was generous family support. One more question, I said, pulling out copies of bank statements Kevin had prepared. Tyler, can you explain these transfers from my checking account to your credit cards? Tyler's face went white. Those were loans, emergency situations, 23 transfers over 6 months, totaling $4,200. When did I agree to these loans? Mom jumped in. Family helps family during emergencies. Declan, you've never needed that money. Tyler did, so taking money from my account without permission is acceptable because I don't need it. Dad's voice got sharp. You're being dramatic. Tyler was desperate. You were fine financially. Good families share resources without keeping score. I had everything needed for criminal charges: admission of unauthorized bank access, property fraud, loan application lies, and conspiracy to commit theft. Tyler's girlfriend was still recording, though she looked confused about the tension developing. Actually, I said, standing up, I need to tell you something. Detective Santos, you can come in now. Detective Santos entered through the back door, displaying her badge and identifying herself to my shocked family. Tyler's girlfriend kept recording, Now understanding she'd documented criminal confessions. Mr. and Mrs. Foster, Tyler Foster, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit property fraud, bank fraud, and identity theft, Detective Santos announced. Tyler bolted for the front door, but Kevin was waiting outside. He'd positioned himself to prevent escape attempts. Tyler found himself trapped between Detective Santos and Kevin, his girlfriend still recording his panic. Mom started crying immediately. This is entrapment. Declan tricked us into saying things. Ma'am, fraud is fraud, regardless of how evidence is collected. Detective Santos replied, your son has recordings of you planning to steal his property and defraud a lending institution. Dad tried to maintain dignity. This is a family matter that should be resolved privately. Declan is prosecuting his own parents over a misunderstanding. Sir, identity theft and bank fraud are federal crimes. This stopped being a family matter when you committed felonies. The arrests took 2 hours to process. Tyler kept insisting he's never meant to steal anything permanently. Mom alternated between sobbing and angry threats about destroying my reputation. Dad maintained that I was overreacting to normal family financial sharing. Tyler's girlfriend, Sarah, approached me while the police were completing paperwork. I'm so sorry, she said. I had no idea Tyler was stealing from you. I thought your family was just really generous and supportive. Sarah's recording became crucial evidence, capturing my family's admissions of fraud in their own words. Her innocent documentation of what she thought was family generosity provided unassailable proof of criminal conspiracy. News of my parents' arrest spread through our community quickly. The reactions revealed which relationships were genuine and which were based on social convenience. Aunt Margaret called me furious. How could you send your own parents to jail over money? This will destroy our family's reputation permanently. Uncle Frank was more measured. Declan, I understand you are protecting yourself, but pressing criminal charges against family seems extreme. Couldn't this have been resolved privately? Cousin Jenny surprised me with support. I had no idea Tyler was actually stealing from you. When you told me about tracking his spending, I thought you were being paranoid, but seeing the evidence Detective Santos released, this was serious fraud. The community split predictably. People who'd witnessed my work ethic and Tyler's entitlement supported the prosecutions. Others felt uncomfortable with family members facing criminal consequences for internal disputes. My supervisor at work, Rachel Thompson, called me into her office the Monday after the arrests. Declan, I need to know if the situation affects your security clearance or job performance. The investigation is complete, and I'm the victim, not the perpetrator. I explained, my security clearance shouldn't be affected by being defrauded by family members. Rachel nodded. Actually, your handling of this situation demonstrates exactly the kind of integrity we value. You discovered fraud and reported it appropriately instead of covering it up or handling it privately. That shows strong ethical judgment. The workplace support was crucial. Several coworkers had noticed my stress over recent months and were relieved to understand the cause. Kevin received praise for his loyalty and investigative assistance. The criminal trial lasted 4 months. Tyler pled guilty to identity theft and bank fraud in exchange for reduced sentencing. My parents fought the charges initially, but eventually accepted plea agreements when their lawyer explained the strength of evidence against them. Tyler received 18 months in federal prison plus restitution requirements. He had to repay the $4,200 stolen from my accounts, plus court costs and investigation expenses. My parents received lighter sentences due to their ages and lack of prior criminal record, 6 months in federal prison each, plus probation and community service requirements. They also faced restitution requirements for their role in the conspiracy. The business loan Tyler obtained fraudulently was cancelled, and the lending institution recovered their funds through insurance. Foster property development was dissolved, and Tyler was barred from using my property as business collateral. Most importantly, all attempts to transfer my house deed were invalidated. My property ownership remained intact, and Tyler was permanently banned from residing there or claiming any ownership interest. Detective Santos explained the broader implications. Financial crimes within families are more common than people realize. Your willingness to prosecute sends a message that family relationship doesn't excuse theft or fraud. With Tyler in federal prison and my parents serving their sentences, I faced the challenge of rebuilding family relationships and community standing. Some relationships were permanently damaged, while others emerged stronger. Kevin's loyalty throughout the investigation deepened our friendship immeasurably. You did the right thing, he told me repeatedly. Family doesn't steal from family, and real parents don't sacrifice one child's future for another child's comfort. I kept Tyler's belongings in storage, paying the monthly fees despite having no legal obligation. When he was released from prison, he'd need somewhere to start rebuilding his life, just not in my house. The house itself required significant cleaning and minor repairs from Tyler's occupancy, but remained structurally sound. I changed all locks, installed permanent security systems, and created legal documentation, preventing future unauthorized occupancy. My relationship with extended family remained complicated. Some relatives maintained that I'd overreacted to a family dispute. Others recognized the seriousness of the crimes committed and supported my decision to seek legal protection. 6 months after the trial ended, I received a letter from Tyler in federal prison. He apologized for the theft and manipulation, claiming prison had given him perspective on his behavior. The letter felt genuine, but trust would require years to rebuild if it could be rebuilt at all. 2 years later, I still live in the house I nearly lost to family manipulation. The experience taught me that legal ownership means nothing without the willingness to defend it, even against people you love. Kevin remains my closest friend and continues working in network security. He jokes that our investigation skills could qualify us for private detective work, but we both prefer preventing cybercrime to solving family crimes. My parents completed their prison sentences and community service requirements. We exchange holiday cards but haven't rebuilt personal relationships. Some bridges, once burned, can't be reconstructed. Ty was released after serving 14 months of his sentence. He found work at a construction company and rents a small apartment across town. We see each other occasionally at community events, but maintain polite distance. The house that nearly cost me everything remains my sanctuary and symbol of independence. Every mortgage payment reminds me that financial security requires constant vigilance, even within families. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd simply given Tyler the house to avoid family conflict. I'd probably be living in an apartment, paying rent, while Tyler collected income from my former property. The short-term peace would have cost me decades of financial security. Instead, I learned that protecting yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. Family relationships built on manipulation and exploitation aren't worth preserving at any cost. Real love doesn't require financial sacrifice. Real family doesn't demand you give up your future for their comfort. The network security skills that helped me build financial independence also helped me investigate family fraud. Recognizing patterns, documenting evidence, and following logical trails work equally well for cybercrime and family crime. Today, my house is truly mine legally, financially, and emotionally. No one can guilt me into giving away what I've earned. No one can manipulate me into sacrificing my security for their convenience. The family I chose, like Kevin, proved more loyal than the family I was born into. That's the most valuable thing I learned from nearly losing everything. Family is defined by actions, not genetics. The people who support your success and protect your interests are your real family. Regardless of their last names or blood relations, the house Tyler tried to steal through manipulation now represents something he never understood: independence earned through sacrifice, protected through strength, and shared only through choice, never through coercion. It stands as proof that sometimes the family you build is stronger than the family you're born into. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe to check out more stories on my channel.